sorry ass DJ.
Hi, good day. This is Akuhado Hanamarie, a fourth-year criminology student of Negros Oriental State University. So today I will be giving my reaction video about Westernization in the Philippines and how it greatly affects Filipino culture. So first off, what is Westernization? So Westernization refers to the adoption of practices and culture of Western Europe by societies and countries in other parts of the world. So these are the Western culture adopted here in the Philippines, particularly during Spanish and American colonization, that is still evident now until present. So answering the first question, the effects of Westernization in the Philippines in terms of government, religion, educational system, food, entertainment, transportation, arts, tradition, and culture. So in terms of government, during Spanish period, the government which Spain established in the Philippines was centralized in structure and national in scope, meaning the setup and the decision-making are by the powers concentrated in the few leaders at the top of the organizational structure, disseminated down to the chain of command. So during American colonization, on the other hand, had contributed to the Philippines governmental structure in terms of political partisanship, which means that politics are based on the support of a certain parties or a group. So both the Spanish and Americans' contribution in the Philippine culture in terms of government are still evident now until present. So in terms of religion, during Spanish period, Roman Catholicism was being introduced, which until present has the most followers and even titled as the largest religion in the world. And during this era, religious holidays were also introduced, as well as fiestas and Christmas celebrations. Construction of churches were also established, and also other constructions that are related to Catholicism. So during American, more religion was being introduced and established, like the Iglesia ni Cristo and the Jehovah's Witness. So since freedom of religion is practiced that time, those religion I recently stated has gathered also a number of followers. So in terms of educational system, during Spaniards' colonization, the influence of Spaniards' language and Latin alphabet were evident. That's why now until present we have used some Spanish word, like for example the word casillas, which in English means cubicle, and another example is the word chismes, which I personally thought of as Philippine word until I searched it. So during American, schools were built. So those establishments and institutions we formerly used before and now are the culture contributed to us by Americans, which is good because it is where the students were molded and taught of the things that they needed aside from the teaching their parents has given to them. So in terms of food, such as arroz caldo, valenciana, menudo, afritada, estofado, and a lot more were dishes left and contributed to us by the Spaniards, which we also loved, especially as Filipinos love to eat rice partnered with those stated ulams. And during American colonization, on the other hand, food like ice creams, hot dogs, cakes, hamburgers, sandwiches, cookies, and donuts were introduced. And honestly, those food were really good that we all wanted to eat, but pricey also. That's why I myself personally doesn't eat them a lot for like always. So in terms of the entertainment, new kind of music and dance were introduced, especially in times of American period. And this was also when Hollywood movies were become popular. In terms of transportation, Philippines somewhat become high technology and developed and made the transportation of the Filipinos more easier and less hassle because of the vehicles they offered in this time that still exists until now and is developing in the process at present for the future. And lastly, in terms of art, tradition, and culture, so during Spanish period, elegant and luxurious clothing worn by the upper and middle classes reflect the prosperity, while during American period, fashion like the use of hats, suits, polo shirts and jeans, dresses, high-heeled shoes, and handbags were introduced, predominating not just for the elites now, but even the lower class who are inclined also with this kind of fashion. And not bad, because most of them can also handle this kind of fashion too well too. So those were what Westernization affects in the Philippines, that even in the modern world still existing and will be existing up until the future. So moving forward in answering the second question, my response to Westernization. So Westernization for me has contributed and will contribute positive and useful things in the Philippines. But along with the positive are also negative things, such as our culture, like for example in the music aspect. So we have this kind of OPM, or original Filipino music, but because of Westernization, this can possibly be forgotten or left behind because of us Filipino too being dominated by the Western music and the like. But Westernization, on the other hand, for me is a good thing too, because we can cope up with the so-called universal popular culture, meaning getting along of what's popular worldwide. So in short, for me, Westernization is good for as long as we will not forget our own kind of popular and valued culture. So moving on in answering the third question, are the values and traits like pakikipagkapwa-tao, family-oriented, pagiging masayahin, resilient, and etc. still being practiced nowadays? Yes, they are still being practiced nowadays, and I hope it would still be up until the future generations, because these are the traits and values we Filipinos are very popular and unique with among other countries. So I doesn't just hope, but I believe we can preserve this kind of practices, knowing that Filipinos has this very unique kind of love for the country Philippines. So that's why. So for the last question, but not the least, in what way you can show a sense of adaptability to the diverse Philippine culture? So I believe I can show a sense of adaptability to the diverse Philippine culture by voluntarily open myself in learning for adjustments, as well as acceptance towards provident change. And from that, I can also adapt by practicing them every now and then, and to share it with others to adapt to. So that's how I can show a sense of adaptability towards the diverse Philippine culture. So that ends my reaction video about Westernization here in the Philippines. So this is for the subject G12 with the description Philippine Popular Culture. So again, this is Ako Hannah-Marie, a 4th year criminology student of Negros Oriental State University. Bye!